Story 1. My wife returned from a work retreat with a hickey, and she claims it's just a bug bite, but I'm sure the only thing that could have bit her was a man. I, 27M, am in a fight with my wife, 28F. We've had fights before, but not this bad. I'm at a loss on how to proceed. For context, we're college sweethearts, married for almost 6 years. We have a daughter, 4F. Our relationship was never perfect or without challenges. We've faced some family opposition with cultural differences, but we've made it work. She's my first love and my best friend. My wife works in corporate. Her job is annual work retreats that last for about a week. This year's retreat was in Vegas. I usually arrange my work schedule and tag along with her, turning it into a trip for us. We couldn't do that this year. Our daughter experiences major anxiety when traveling long distances. We're working on it, but she wasn't budging, and we decided to choose our battles. So, I stayed behind and held down the fort at home. The change of plans was disappointing because the trip was part of how we reconnected as both a couple and a family. My wife's work hours have taken a toll, and her work-life balance leaves much to be desired. We entertained the idea of her skipping the retreat. Attendance is optional, but it's generally frowned upon if you don't go, and my wife is making important connections in her field. Before she left, she started acting strange. We have a system for staying in contact whenever one of us is away for an extended period. For the first day or so, she was herself, but then she grew distant. I'd text her about important things and be left on read while she later claimed she never saw my messages. Whenever we talked, she was rushing me or our daughter off the phone, even at times when she wasn't involved in retreat activities. We were supposed to have a mini birthday celebration for our daughter over FaceTime. Our daughter was excited, as it was something my wife had promised her since the retreat overlapped with her actual birthday. But my wife backed out because she had people up to her room after a seminar. It felt like she wanted my permission to break her promise to our daughter. I told her I wasn't going to give that, nor was I going to make her keep her word. She said I wasn't being fair and that this was a networking opportunity. According to her, the people she was with were business-oriented and wouldn't understand her stepping away for family time. I told her that her decision was her decision, but she would have to explain it to our daughter. She promised to make it up the next day. Our daughter didn't understand and cried. My wife ended up hanging up and leaving me to comfort our daughter alone. That whole incident rubbed me the wrong way. She didn't keep her word for the rain check either. Meanwhile, she was documenting the retreat on social media. One coworker, 23M, was in almost every picture and video, practically attached to her hip. In one picture, he had his arm too comfortably around her, in my opinion. He's a recent hire in my wife's department, and she was asked to oversee it. I don't like the guy. He doesn't know boundaries. Once, in response to a work assignment, he texted my wife that she was exactly the kind of woman he needed to keep him in check. My wife brushed it off. She feels bad for him because he's not fitting in, so she took him under her wing during his first retreat with the team. Whenever I asked about things, she'd say she was tired or busy networking. There was always something. But I've seen her at these retreats before. This wasn't like her. She was just off. The day before she returned home, she complained about a bruise on her neck. She stressed that it was a bug bite. I didn't actually see the bruise until she came home, and when I did, I instantly thought it was a full-on hickey. She had made a big deal of it over the phone, but when I saw it in person, she brushed it off. I didn't push the issue at first because our daughter was present. But when I was finally able to confront her, she clung to her bug bite story. When I kept pressing, she asked what I was trying to imply. I outright told her I believed it was a hickey and that I didn't believe she was being honest with me. That's when we had it out. She was offended and pissed at the accusation. Infidelity has always been a sore topic because her family has a history of cheating. We had a pretty bad fight, and she accused me of picking a fight because of the incident with our daughter's birthday. I told her it had nothing to do with that and everything to do with the hickey on her neck. The fight ended in an impasse. We still haven't recovered. She swears it's a bug bite, but I'm not convinced. I've always trusted my wife. I never doubted her, but this bruise doesn't look like a bug bite, it looks like a hickey. That feeling only gets stronger when I consider how distant and weird she was during the Vegas retreat. Now, she's been wearing turtlenecks ever since, and we're stuck between arguing and her showering our daughter and me with affection. Communication usually prevails for us, but not this time. I think my accusation pushed us to a new level of argument. I'm at a loss here. I really need outside perspectives. How do I move forward? Relevant comments. Commenter. I'm not saying it's impossible, but I've never gotten a bug bite that looked like a hickey. Did she show you her phone or provide any proof to support her innocence, or did she just dismiss you? The extra affection is a common move from guilt-ridden cheaters. Even if we stretch the imagination and believe it is a bug bite, she wasn't acting trustworthy, nor was she a good mother while she was in Vegas, and she needs to address and correct that. Op's response. No, I haven't had access to her phone. We usually have an open phone policy, but it's not something we've ever really practiced. I'm sure it'll turn into another argument. Commenter 2. Why did you go on work trips with her in the past? Did she want you to, or did you not want her to go alone? What is the system when one of you is away, and why is it necessary? Whose idea was the FaceTime birthday celebration? Did she not talk to her daughter at all on her birthday, or could she just not do the FaceTime celebration? Op's response. Work/life balance was an issue, so she'd invite me on the retreats. The system is for extended periods away from each other, like the length of the retreat, especially now that we have a child. The birthday FaceTime was my wife's idea. She promised our daughter and got her excited about it. No, she didn't talk to our daughter until she was calling to cancel. That's another reason the birthday stunt rubbed me the wrong way. Commenter 3. Op, no offense, but you come across as really insecure. So what if she wanted to disconnect from mom duties for a few days and enjoy the company of other adults? I certainly would love the ability to do that. If she says it was a bug bite, it's a bug bite. Unless you have definite proof otherwise, let it go. Just because there's infidelity in her family doesn't mean she was on this trip for that reason. You're rolling a bunch of different things together to make a very loose case. Let it go and enjoy the time you have now with your daughter and wife. Op's response. Yeah, you don't get to disconnect from being a parent, especially to a minor, for extended holidays. You certainly don't ghost them on their birthday after promising to do something special and getting the child excited about it, nor do you hang up on them while they're crying. I'm not insecure. My wife has gone on these retreats before. We both work outside the home and share the responsibility of caring for our daughter, so there's no imbalance. My wife's work-life balance is out of sorts. She spends plenty of time in the company of other adults. I've been with my wife on these retreats and other social events. I know how she is. She was off this entire trip, and I didn't appreciate her entertaining a coworker who ignores boundaries, having his arm wrapped around her waist like he was claiming her or something. I trusted her when she said she had a bug bite. I even got things to help her treat it for when she returned. It was only after I saw the bruise in person that there was no mistaking it was a hickey, and I questioned her on it. Update 1 week later. I wanted to give an update and thank everyone who reached out. The outside perspectives helped. Things are a roller coaster. I'm trying to process. It took a while for my wife and me to have any real conversation about the bruise on her neck. I rarely saw the bruise because she was turtlenecked up, but I did note the healing process from reddish purple to yellow. There wasn't any more discussion about the Vegas retreat. She made it clear she was done talking about it and that she shouldn't need to defend herself to her husband. I told her she could do whatever she wanted, but I was done being treated like an idiot, and I wasn't sharing a bed with someone I couldn't trust. So I moved into the guest room. Communication stopped. The silences were palpable. Even our daughter noticed. I'm not proud of that. I try to keep her out of fights. My wife came to the guest room one night and asked if we could talk. I could tell she'd been crying. She said she hated the way things were between us. She felt she was losing me either way. I told her I needed complete honesty. She confessed she hooked up with that coworker, 23M, on our daughter's birthday. The hickey was from him. She was lost in the heat of the moment and didn't realize he was leaving a mark on her neck. By her account, they made out while doing some on top of the clothes stuff, and then he went down on her. It stopped there because he called her by a nickname that I affectionately call her. It snapped her back to the reality of her actions. She went to splash water on her face and saw the hickey. The guy made light of it and joked about the hickey being her souvenir. She blew up on him and kicked him out of her suite. Part of the reason she was avoiding me was out of guilt. She said she's coming clean because she doesn't want to hide things anymore. I asked her why she cheated. What was it about that guy that she deemed worth risking everything? She claimed it wasn't him specifically, nor is she unhappy with our marriage. She doesn't really know how to explain it, but a part of her feels broken. The more she looks in the mirror, the more she sees her dad, 57M, a cycle of being consumed with work, distant from her child, and the infidelity he put her mom, 55F, through. She said her family never talked about anything openly, and when she was growing up, my mother-in-law never addressed anything with her. I told her that her parents didn't make her cheat. She chose to party with a guy who constantly disrespected our relationship. These were all her decisions, and at any point, she could have chosen our family. She agreed. She wants to blame her parents but realizes this is on her. She apologized for cheating and for entertaining the guy's advances. She said she'll do whatever it takes to repair things, go to HR, quit her job, counseling, etc., anything. She wants to make everything right. I told her I don't know what right looks like or if that's possible for us anymore. I knew we had our problems, but I thought there wasn't anything we couldn't talk out. She insisted we still could. We didn't have to give up on us. She tried giving this rallying cry for our relationship, but I felt very numb. I told her I didn't recognize her, not just because of the betrayal of our vows but also because of how she treated our daughter. She feels like a stranger. She said she feels like she failed as a wife and mother, but she loves us both beyond words and wants our life together and our family intact. I told her I couldn't give her the answer she wanted and thought we needed to separate and reevaluate. She didn't want separation. She felt we should stay together in our home, but I told her a separation was happening. Either she was leaving the home, or I was taking our daughter with me. She consented to leaving so as to not uproot our daughter too much. She asked that our daughter not be taken away from her. My wife is staying with my in-laws. I know that's difficult in itself because she doesn't have the best relationship with her parents. One of the hardest parts is the shift for our daughter. Right now, she believes her mom is just busy with work as usual. She hasn't questioned it too much. My mother-in-law called the other day. She made no excuses for my wife but is advocating for us to work through it. She told me about times when she heard my wife describe me as the anchor she always wanted. She believes there's something worth fighting for if I'm open. Despite some family opposition we faced throughout our relationship, my mother-in-law was always a supporter of us. I'm even more at a loss. I never imagined this kind of betrayal from my wife. She was my safe place. I feel numb yet broken. I'm in love with her. That hasn't changed. But I don't see myself, her, our relationship, or our family the same. Everything feels more tense because it's still fresh. I think this period of separation is for the best. I'm not sure about divorce. I haven't let myself fully go there. I'm not set either way. I don't know where things go from here, but I'm focusing on our daughter and taking things one step at a time. I feel that's all I can do right now. Thanks again to everyone for the support. It's much appreciated. Relevant comments. Commenter. I have to say, if you think she didn't sleep with this man, you are naive. She saw she was losing you and knew she had to tell you something, but I don't think she gave you the full truth. Ask her if she's willing to take a polygraph test to prove she didn't do more. Ask her to let you go through her phone and read her messages. Tell her you've purchased an app that lets you recover deleted messages. These programs exist, but don't buy one, just bluff her. Tell her she has one last chance to come clean, and if you recover any messages that show she is still lying, then you are done. Another tactic you could try is having her text him right in front of you. Tell her to text him something like, "Can't wait to hook up again on the next work trip." If she refuses, it's because she is lying about what happened and knows his response will confirm it. If they truly did not sleep together and she did blow up at him and kick him out of her room, then he would probably respond to that message with confusion. If she has something to hide, she will likely confess. But even if she is telling the truth, it still shows no love or respect for you on her part. If you stay, I demand she sign a post-nup guaranteeing you don't get screwed if you decide to divorce and/or if she cheats again, she will cheat again sooner or later. And if you stay, you should tell her she needs to quit and find a new job. In her new job, there can be no work trips. Oh, and she didn't come clean because she didn't want to hide things. I guarantee if you had dropped the subject, she would have as well. She came clean because she saw she was losing you and knew she had to say something. So this woman is still lying to you. If she really didn't want to hide things, she would have come clean from the beginning. Commenter 2. One question, how close was the colleague to her to know the nickname that you use? And why did she let him get this close to her, both literally and figuratively? Ops response. At the time, I knew they had a friendship. She was asked to mentor him as he joined her department, so she took him under her wing and was supposed to be showing him the ropes. They would text and stuff, and he would cross boundaries. His texts increasingly read like a guy fishing for an opportunity. My wife shut the idea down as not even a factor for her, and I chose to trust my wife because I never had a reason to doubt her before. As for the nickname, it was something only I called her, but it wasn't a secret or anything. I used it in front of others and our daughter. She claims the guy overheard me say it when she had me on speaker once, and he asked her about it afterward. Story 2. My brother banned me from coming to his wedding because his wife's family is at war with the rainbow. Now my parents are banning him from their inheritance unless he divorces his wife. So, my brother's wedding happened 2 days ago, and it turned into complete chaos, which I know even though I wasn't there. You might wonder why I didn't attend the wedding if it was my brother's. Well, it's because of his wife's family. He did send me an invitation because he wanted me there, but his fiancée told him I couldn't attend because I had a boyfriend. You might be confused, but I'm a man, and I have a boyfriend whom I wanted to bring to the wedding. She said that even though she and my brother didn't have a problem with it, her extremely religious parents, who had already forced her to have the wedding in a church, would most likely banish us from the wedding and cause trouble between our families. After she told him that, my brother told me I couldn't attend and explained why. You might think I was angry, but the truth is, I was relieved. I hate going to big events with lots of people because of my social anxiety, and I was already used to not being able to attend certain events because of my sexuality, so it was nothing I hadn't heard before. So, on the day of the wedding, I stayed home with my boyfriend. It's worth mentioning that my parents apparently didn't know I wasn't attending. I was chilling at home, cuddling with my boyfriend, when I suddenly got a text message from my parents asking me where I was because they couldn't find me at the wedding party. I told them I wasn't attending and asked if my brother hadn't told them anything. They said no and asked me what had happened. I didn't see any reason to lie, so I sent them a text explaining exactly why. Now, I have to admit, I don't exactly know what happened after I sent that message because they read it but didn't reply. And why did they care in the first place? They hadn't even noticed I wasn't there until the wedding was already over. They only realized when the wedding party started. However, apparently, my parents talked to my brother about it, and all of a sudden, my absence became the main topic of the wedding party. From what I heard, two sides formed. On one hand, my parents and the rest of my family, and on the other, the family of my brother's wife. Apparently, as her husband, he felt compelled to take her side and tried to argue in her favor. It's crazy to think that I was just sitting at home, living my best life with my boyfriend, while all of that drama went down at his wedding. The wedding party was ruined, and my brother showed up at my door, angrily screaming at me, demanding to know why I felt the need to ruin his wedding. I was confused and asked him what had happened. He told me everything, and I explained that it wasn't my intention. I had simply told our parents the truth because they didn't know and wanted to know where I was, and I had assumed he had already told them. He screamed at me, saying I had ruined his wedding. I told him it wasn't my fault that he hadn't been honest with them. I had just respected their wish for me not to attend. I couldn't have known it would blow up like this because, as I said, I hadn't been able to attend several events before due to my sexuality, and my parents had never said anything about it, so I thought it would be the same this time. But I gotta admit, it's kinda sweet that my parents and the rest of my family stood up for me. They haven't done that before, and it's a more than welcome change. Still, I feel kinda bad because, apparently, I really did ruin the wedding party. Update 2 days later. I didn't think I would give an update, but many interesting things happened. So, after my brother's visit, his wife and he went on their honeymoon. And the way the wedding party went might have been even worse than I imagined. What happens now is incredible. When I said in the main post that two fronts had formed, I only meant that metaphorically, of course, but not anymore. While nothing particularly interesting happened in the first 2 days afterward, the terror started as soon as my brother and his wife left for their honeymoon. My mom and dad visited me and told me how the wedding party escalated and how it almost turned into physical violence. I thought it was funny at first, but this truly bothers me. I also want to point out that you all did a great job convincing me it's not my fault, but hearing my parents' side still gave me a bad feeling in my stomach. However, like I said, the terror started shortly after they went on their honeymoon. And when I say terror, I mean that my sister-in-law's family found both my Facebook and Instagram accounts and started spamming me with hateful messages. I received insults and threats from various different accounts, all of which had one thing in common: they had a Christian theme and the same last name. So it wasn't hard to figure out whose accounts they were, mainly because I don't know my sister-in-law's family at all. I only know her, and I know her parents were homophobic Christians. But whatever, they didn't just attack me, they also found my boyfriend's account through mine since we're linked as a couple, and they started sending him the same messages. The messages contained, on one side, typical bigot stuff like, "You're burning in hell for your sins." One even called me and my boyfriend two devils in disguise. The rest were just blatant insults. You get the idea. I called my parents and told them what was happening. Then I sent a text message to my brother with screenshots of the messages his wife's family sent me, to which he replied that I shouldn't disturb him with that during his honeymoon, as I already destroyed his wedding party. I couldn't believe it. He was just like that. He did send me an apology after my mom called him, but none of this is the main reason I'm giving you this update so early. This morning, I got a call from an unknown number. I hesitated because I thought it might be one of them. And I was right, but it wasn't one of the people who insulted me. I heard a woman's voice who introduced herself as the half-sister of my brother's wife. She said it hadn't gone unnoticed what her family was doing and that she wanted to apologize on their behalf. I told her I wasn't going to tell anyone in her family about this and that I didn't blame her for their actions. She thanked me and hung up. I don't know why, but I have a feeling she only did this to protect her family from being reported. My mother texted me earlier, saying she wants to report the insults and harassment from these people and that she is demanding my brother divorce his wife, or she will disinherit him from her will, because that's not how she raised him. A little radical, in my opinion, but I understand where she's coming from. This whole situation has escalated so much, it's unbelievable. Thank you all for your support on my first post. Second update 9 days later. It's been a few days. First of all, my boyfriend and I are fine. Luckily for us, they didn't go any further than their text messages. My mom filed a report against them. I don't know the current situation regarding that, as I haven't filed a report myself. The reason I'm updating you is a different one. First of all, one person in my sister-in-law's family is actually going to testify in my favor and against her family. It really takes courage to do so. It's the same person who called me in the last update. Somehow, they found out that she is into women. I guess she had no reason to hide it anymore. However, she said she's fine and is going to stay at a friend's house. I have so much respect for what she's doing. Imagine the strength it takes to testify against your own family. I now feel bad for assuming she only called me to save her family from being reported. More importantly, what is the current situation with my brother? Well, my mom talked to him and told him to leave his wife, or she would disinherit him from her will. He decided to stay with his wife, and my mom followed through on her threat. He's no longer in her will. My father did the same. When I visited them, I also told them that I wished this entire situation had gone differently. They assured me it wasn't my fault, but I feel like if it weren't for me, my family wouldn't be torn apart like this. I haven't talked to my brother since then. My boyfriend feels similar. He also told me he kind of feels responsible for all this chaos. I assured him it's not his fault, but honestly, I wasn't even sure if I could say that in my position. On the other hand, it was my sister-in-law's family's bigotry that ruined everything, and everything would have been fine if I could have just attended. But now, it's time for me to distance myself from this situation. We'll see what the report will do. I followed your advice to document everything. The insulting and harassing messages continued until 2 days ago, so I have a lot to say about them. Unfortunately, homophobia is still very much normalized in our society. I already mentioned this in a post on my profile, but the reason I'm so calm and casual about the situation is simply that I'm used to situations like this. They don't get to me anymore. If I let every insult affect me, I wouldn't make it for long. It's a coping mechanism. I've been in situations where I was sent to the hospital because I kissed my boyfriend in public. So insults and harassment like theirs are nothing I haven't seen before. I want to say thank you for all your support on my first 2 posts. Third update 3 months later. I think some of you were waiting for an update, so here I am. Keep in mind that this update will probably be the last one. Last time, I told you my mother was pressing charges against them, and to my surprise, we won. They weren't going to jail or anything, but they had to pay for their actions, literally. There was one incident where my sister-in-law's dad was actually trying to find out where I lived and asked my brother, who told him. Only God knows what he would have done to us if we had still lived there. But in the span of the last 2 months, my boyfriend and I moved to a different place, which my brother knew nothing about. Also, their social media accounts were deleted. However, I don't know if this was part of their punishment or if they did it themselves. My mom has also carried out the threat toward my brother and disinherited him from her will. After he came back from his honeymoon, he begged her to put him back in. She said she would only if he apologized to me. She invited my boyfriend and me over, and my brother sat in the living room with a mad look on his face. She made him apologize, but I didn't accept his apology because I could tell it wasn't sincere. He did it because he had to, not because he was actually sorry. I told my brother that I was disappointed in who he had become. Before that, we had a huge bond and usually never judged each other for things like this, and all of a sudden, he had such a problem with me having a boyfriend. I just don't get it. I told him that I missed the old him. He didn't respond to anything. He just sat there quietly, staring at the floor. After I finished, he just got up and left. That was the last time I spoke with him, and it's already been a few weeks since it happened. My parents have paid much more attention to the discrimination I face since this incident. They wanted to learn more about the challenges I face as a queer person. I really love them. My dad even got a pride flag for me and asked if he could hang it in our bedroom. I love that I have such great parents. I just wish my brother would become the person he once was. By the way, since the case with my sister-in-law's family is over, I haven't heard anything about their lesbian daughter. She supported us during the process, but we lost contact afterward, and I just hope she's doing fine. Fourth update 6 months later. The final update of my story happened 6 months ago, and I figured some of you might be interested in how things are currently going. So, I'm back, at least for this post right now. There have been some developments. First of all, I want to give you an update about my brother's wife's sister. Around 2 months after my last update, she texted us and asked if she could come over. We talked for a while, and I was relieved to find out that she was doing fine. She said that she moved in with her girlfriend once the case was over, simply because her parents and the rest of her family had disowned her and even threatened her with physical violence if she dared to return. However, her relationship with her girlfriend eventually ended, and she asked if she could stay with us for a few days until she found something. She ended up staying with us for 2 weeks. During that time, my parents visited us and offered her a place to stay since they have a big house with extra space. She's currently living there because she wants to study, and my parents have no problem letting her stay a little longer. My boyfriend and I also support her financially to some extent. We included her in several celebrations, such as Christmas and New Year's Eve, and I feel like she's the sister I never had. What's probably more interesting to you is how my brother is currently doing. The truth is, I don't know exactly. We haven't talked since his so-called apology. However, he actually tried to attend our Christmas celebration, but the moment he showed up, my dad kicked him out and said, and I quote, "This homophobic rubbish is no longer allowed in my house." I love him, but of course, both of my parents followed through with disowning him. My boyfriend and I are still together, and I feel like he might be the one I want to marry. This entire situation has made our bond so much stronger. I plan on proposing to him, but there are so many ideas floating around in my head that I can't decide which one to go with. Also, my sister-in-law's family's social media accounts have disappeared entirely, all of them. But I assume they've already made new ones under a different name. I'm just glad all of this is finally over. I don't have any compassion left for my brother. I just wish he had never turned out this way. Everything that happened to him, he brought on himself. Thanks for reading. Wishing you all the best. Fifth update 2 months later. Do you remember when I told you in my last update 2 months ago that I would propose to my boyfriend? Well, I did it today. I came up with so many ideas that it was really hard to decide, so I gave him some subtle hints, not too obvious, just enough to see how he would react and then decide based on his reaction. In the end, I made a photo album of us featuring the most important events in our relationship. Each of them had a thought of mine and a caption below. Some were meaningful, but some were just random, like one photo of us eating at his favorite restaurant on his birthday, with the caption saying something like, "Damn, that pizza was good." That made him laugh. We walked to his favorite spot in town, which is a beautiful lake. That's where I gave him the album and told him it was a present and to look through it. He was so focused that he didn't notice what I was doing behind him when I told him I was just grabbing something I had forgotten. I positioned myself behind him, and that's when the last page came into play. That page had a photo of me holding the ring in the same way I was positioned behind him, looking straight at the camera. The caption said, "Hopefully, he says yes." He turned around in disbelief and started crying almost immediately when he saw me. I couldn't even finish the question before he already said yes. It was exactly how I had hoped it would go. I always dreamed of making my proposal feel like something out of a romance novel, and I was successful. So yeah, that's it, I'm going to marry him. I already told my entire family, except for my brother, of course. They were so happy about it, especially my mom and new sister, who shrieked with excitement on the phone. I assume my brother knows anyway, considering I shared it on Facebook. You guys are probably right that he might be planning something, but if he is, it won't stop us. Sixth update 2 months later. Hey, I haven't talked to you all in about 2 months. That's because my boyfriend and I are fully invested in planning the wedding. We have a date for it. It's gonna be next year. Still, I have so many followers on this account, and I kinda want to include you in my journey. My sister is currently helping. I don't know if I should mention it here, but my mother recently called me to tell me that my brother apparently got divorced. I have no idea what's going on with him, though. Not like I care much, but I guess some of you might find it interesting. I'm sorry, but too much has happened, and I really don't want to have anything to do with him anymore. But enough about me. How are you guys doing? Seventh update 8 months later. So, the last time I actively posted an update was about a year ago. If you haven't followed my account in the meantime, I'll briefly summarize what happened. I got engaged shortly after the update, and now, a year later, we're married. I'll be honest, I'm still shaken up. I wouldn't update on this subreddit if something significant hadn't happened. It's amazing that many of my followers had already warned me that my brother might be planning something, but I never would have thought it could be so evil. The wedding took place a few days ago. We canceled our honeymoon for now until we settle things because, right now, we wouldn't enjoy it. While we were sitting at the table, eating and talking with our parents about the future, one of the security guards, yes, we did hire some, as one of you suggested, approached me and informed me that someone outside was begging for admission. When I asked who, the guard hesitated briefly and then told me it was my brother. I told the guard that I would go with him to resolve the situation, but my father, who overheard the conversation, told me to stay put because it was my day, and I shouldn't have to deal with it. A little later, shouting was heard from outside. My mother asked me to stay seated and said she would go see what was going on. When she came back, her face pale as chalk, she told me that my brother and my father were shouting at each other outside. My brother demanded to be let in, and my father told him to screw off. At some point, my brother left, and my father tried to calm down, but you could still see the veins in his neck from anger. He explained what had happened. We thought that would be the end of it, but no, it was going to get worse. Much worse, in fact. My brother had somehow managed to get past the security guards. When I noticed him, he was approaching with frantic steps, and my father tackled him to the ground. The music in the room stopped, and all eyes were on us. I called the security guards. My father was on top of him, shouting. The security guards escorted him outside and called the police. They had noticed that he had a pocket knife, which he dropped when my father tackled him to the ground. I didn't say that he had tried to attack me with it, but I assumed that's what would have happened. He was arrested for attempted assault. He kept looking at me. He looked so full of anger and hatred. So yeah, the day was ruined. The police asked all the witnesses for statements and then sent all the guests home. We currently have to settle some things with the police and decided to take our honeymoon later because, right now, we're not in the right state of mind to enjoy it after everything that happened. Anyway, after everything, I'm not only disappointed in what my brother has become, I'm straight up terrified. I'm trying to tell myself that he didn't actually try to, well, end me. But how exactly do you deal with a situation like this? My husband and I are trying to move past it, and he is so sweet, but I can tell it affected him too. Anyway, I just wanted to tell you guys because some of you predicted something like this and advised me to hire security guards, but I really underestimated it. I have to take a break for now. Thanks for reading. Story 3.
My in-laws demanded that we hand over our house to my sister-in-law because otherwise she and her kids would be homeless, even if it meant making my own kids homeless. Throwaway for obvious reasons. This happened 2 nights ago, and I'm still feeling some type of way about it. Background: my 30F husband, 32M, has a younger sister, 25F, who is currently going through a divorce with 4 children. My husband and I also have 4 children. We live on a very quiet country back road in our little town, with his family being the only other residents on the road. Both of his sisters, their families, and his parents all live within walking distance of our house. My husband and I have been married for 7 years and have 4 young children. He bought the land we live on from his parents when he was 18, and when we got married, we built a house on it. We designed our house with a big family in mind and intended for it to be our forever home. Moving or looking elsewhere has never been a consideration. My sister-in-law is struggling, to say the least. She was in a very toxic relationship with her ex, contributing just as much to the toxicity as he did. He filed for divorce, moved out, and left their 4 kids with her. 2 nights ago, my mother-in-law called my husband and asked if we would come over for a chat. When we arrived, my in-laws and sister-in-law were sitting on the couch like they were staging some kind of intervention. It was just really strange. My mother-in-law didn't beat around the bush. She explained that my sister-in-law's ex was getting the house in the divorce and that she and the kids would be homeless within a month if we didn't give her our home. It honestly took me a second to comprehend what she had just said because it was so out of left field. My husband didn't need that second. He looked them dead in the eyes and simply said, "No." My in-laws started saying things like, "You guys don't need all that house. You guys can move into one of the new neighborhoods in town, and you guys can just build a new house." I offered to open up our playroom and guest bedroom to them until they could find somewhere to live. We have air mattresses, and the guest room has a full bath, but apparently, that was not good enough. That's when we got up and left. As we walked out, they began yelling after us, saying we don't care about the children, that family helps family, and that we're being greedy and selfish, etc. Honestly, I'm so proud of how we reacted because my first instinct was to go off and say some hurtful things. Instead, we just went home, to our home. We love my sister-in-law's kids and obviously don't want them to be homeless, but they don't need my house at the expense of my own children and family. I don't see why my sister-in-law's family deserves my home. What about my kids? Now my in-laws are calling and texting, saying we don't care about the kids, that we're selfish and greedy, and that we're making her homeless. Relevant comments. Commenter. Every divorce I am familiar with requires whoever got the house to either sell it or buy out their former partner within a specified period. Unless your sister made 0 contributions to the mortgage or is receiving a payout, she has or will have money to find another place. In the interim, her parents are free to give her their home, and they can move into one of the new neighborhoods in town or just build a new house. Either your sister-in-law has the world's most incompetent attorney, or she has never contributed to her marital assets. Either way, it's not your problem to solve. Ops response. She has never had a job. She was a stay-at-home mom during their marriage, and before that, she was just a stay-at-home daughter, so she definitely didn't contribute. As far as I can understand from the tidbits of information they're sharing, she cannot buy it from him, because she has no money, and the in-laws can't afford both it and their own mortgage, so she would have no way to continue paying for it. But yeah, they're more than welcome to give her their house and go buy another. Commenter 2. Do not let them into your home. As evident from your meeting, they feel entitled to your home and would conspire against you with other family members. Letting them in could create a myriad of issues, including them potentially trying to take over more of the space and even changing the locks. Ops response. My offer of the guest bedroom for my sister-in-law has been rescinded, full stop. The kids are still welcome because they are innocent in this, but as of right now, any of my husband's family over the age of 5 is not allowed through my front door. Commenter 3. Are they going to buy your husband out, or do they just expect you to move out of a 6-figure investment because his sister is bad at relationships and planning? Ops response. There was no offer to buy it or pay the mortgage, it was literally presented as us handing over the house and just going somewhere else. Neither my husband nor I thought there would be any compensation for it, we would still be expected to pay for it. Commenter 4. How is the ex getting the house if she's the one with the kids? Assuming they're his kids, that is. Ops response. The house is his, bought and paid for by him, without her contributing a cent, so that definitely factors in. But from my understanding, she can't buy him out because she has no money, and the in-laws can't or won't buy him out either. I'm also understanding that he is paying quite a pretty penny in child support, so I don't think she would get the house paid for by him in child support. She may have had to pick one or the other, and I can say with certainty that she would choose child support money. Update 6 days later. Putting this here because it wouldn't let me update the post body. So, as many of you, and myself, thought, my sister-in-law was lying about a lot. I'm not going to go into too much detail because it's seriously years worth of lies, but my husband and I call the ex-brother-in-law, and we 100% fully believe everything he told us. He has no reason to lie to us and repeatedly said he just wants what's best for his kids, and is trying his best not to do anything that could possibly harm him in court. She lied about him getting the house, lied about how much she was going to get in child support, and lied about how often she would have her children. Something else that came out is that her oldest child isn't even her ex's. Just so many lies. We feel incredibly stupid, deceived, and disgusted, to be honest. We told my in-laws everything he had said, and they were upset to find out she had been lying, but they kind of doubled down, saying, she must have had a good reason. She's backed into a corner, she's really going through a tough time, and a bunch of other BS. My sister-in-law was called and asked to join us. She, of course, took zero accountability for the lying and sneaking and instead screamed at us about how gross we were for going behind her back to her ex, how she would never trust us again because we betrayed her. She also let us know that she was asking for our house because she truly felt like we had actually built it for her. Our kids' rooms were how she would have designed them herself. She would love to cook in my kitchen. She loves my bathroom layout, basically. Everything about my house is how she would have built it herself, and she thinks I must have somehow known she would need a home in the future. At that point, I was just done, and so was my husband. You can't argue with backcrack crazy. We left to a whole lot of screaming about no longer being family and not expecting to see them again. Honestly, I think never seeing them again is the only way to go from here. It's been a crazy few days since then. We hired a friend of my husband's to put up a privacy fence around our entire property and added extra cameras to our security system. We also have a good family friend, a friend of our family, not my husband's, on the police force and let him know the situation, so he knows if he gets a call from us, it's serious. I think my sister-in-law believed she could have my house just because she loved it. That's kind of it. She wanted it, so she thought she deserved it. I guess she was either planning to sell her house at some point or maybe rent it out, I have no idea. I really don't think she had thought it all the way through. She just assumed that if she told us she was losing her house, we would feel obligated to help in the way she wanted. So, I hope this clears up some questions. I know I feel at peace with the situation. My husband has been grieving a bit. He's sad that his parents have chosen a liar over a man who has done everything for his family, never hesitated to help, and has only ever been a doting son, but I think this is for the best. They don't treat him the way he deserves, and I'm glad to be rid of them. I'm sad for my kids and the situation this puts them in, but my family has enough love for everyone. Thank you to everyone who took the time to comment, message, give advice, and ask questions. Hopefully, you guys won't hear from me again. Relevant comments. Commenter. It's not even a surprise that the sister-in-law was lying. When I've said her ex-brother-in-law would have gotten the house in the divorce and that the kids would be homeless, that should have been an eye-opener because, unless there's proof of neglect or abuse of any kind, family courts wouldn't send children to stay with a parent facing homelessness. I can't believe the in-laws bought into their daughter's lies. The only true victim here is the oldest of the sister-in-law's kids since he or she is a product of her infidelity, and it sounds like the ex-brother-in-law, understandably, is angry about that. Commenter 2. The sister-in-law is the golden child, that's how.
Story 4. I found out my stay-at-home wife got bored of me and found better attention from her online gamer friend, and now she refuses to work on our marriage, not even for our child. I, 28M, and my wife, 27F, have been together for 7 years and married for almost 2. We have a beautiful 1-year-old, and I thought everything was perfect for us. It's been a rough week, but I was informed that she wanted a break between us. It came out of left field, and I was lost as to what could have happened. She expressed that she needed space to think about what she wants to do and to find herself again. Since I am the sole provider for our family, she has had all the time at home to take care of our child while also having the freedom to relax. She said she wasn't sure who she was anymore since her identity had shifted from who she was before to now being a mom. I understand that having a child is a significant moment and that it also brings a dramatic change to our dynamic and relationship. She expressed that I have not met her needs, that she no longer feels love or happiness with me, and that I am not her safe space, even though I have been trying so hard to provide for and love both my child and my wife. I work 10 to 12 plus hours a day, and whenever I am home, whether it's my day off or after work, I make sure to take care of our child so she has her own time to do what she wants, since being a stay-at-home mom is not easy. It's worth noting that none of our assets are joint, and we don't own a house together, just an apartment. She has been talking to a new friend group in an online video game recently, even before she told me she wanted a break. I noticed that she has been talking to a specific guy, and I became concerned because they would talk all day and night. When I expressed my concerns, she just said that he was like a brother to her. I trusted my wife and didn't think I needed to intervene or tell this guy she was married because I trusted her to set boundaries if needed. A day after she told me she wanted a break, I did my best to give her space so she could process her feelings, but it seemed to me that she just wanted to talk to this guy and her new friend group. I was told that her friends, including this guy, knew she was married, so I tried not to assume the worst. However, a few hours later, a good friend of mine informed me that she had been oversharing her emotional and physical needs, saying that I no longer met them but that this guy she had been talking to could. She claimed they had more compatibility, even though they had never met in real life. I was devastated because I thought I had done everything I could to make her happy, providing a home and food for our family. Later that night, I checked her call logs and messages with this guy, and to my surprise, they had been sending explicit messages, discussing him sexually, and comparing me to him. It had even escalated to the point where they were getting themselves off while on chat or a phone call. She later found out that I had discovered everything and apologized for her actions, yet she still wants to talk to this guy, because she's worried about his mental state after I caught them. From the very beginning of this break, I have felt like my feelings were never considered. I am now just trying to focus on my child to get through each day in the home that I provide, even though she is openly talking and video chatting with this guy. I know she is craving attention since he is the one giving it to her, but she doesn't see that me providing for our family is also an act of love. I want this marriage to work because I love her, even though she emotionally cheated, and because we have a child together. But it's so hard to find the will to keep trying when she talks to this guy while I'm at work and even when I come home. Is it my fault that she is seeking attention from someone she has never met? Should I have done a better job showing her the love she deserves? I regret any instance where she felt I wasn't showing her love, and I am willing to work on myself and fight for our marriage. But she has no reason or desire to make it work because she doesn't believe I will change. If we went to marriage counseling, it wouldn't be beneficial for her since she no longer feels love toward me, and I am no longer her safe space, but this new guy is? She shows no willingness to fix our marriage, and while I know no one is perfect, I feel like any suggestion or effort I make is pointless. Relevant comments. Commenter. Try to make copies of everything you've seen. You need to take control and not be a doormat. Consult a lawyer about your rights. Freeze your credit and credit cards. Open a new bank account in your name only at a new bank and direct deposit your check there. Are you in a no-fault state? What does your lawyer say about child custody? I wish you all the best. And under no circumstances should you take her back when she comes crawling back to you. Lesson for her to learn. Actions have consequences. Ops response. In Georgia, and I believe we are in a no-fault state. I'm still researching and trying to gather all the information I need so I can have an idea of what to do. I will get in contact with a few lawyers, but obviously, family members want us to make it work. However, it gets to a point where I need to put myself first, including my child. Commenter 2. You said it was a rough week, but you also mentioned that it came out of nowhere. Was all the stuff about talking to another guy happening before she asked for the break? If not, what made the week rough? Also, how do these other friends know what she's saying to him? And if you were on a break, how did you have unrestricted access to her phone to go through it and read her messages? Ops response. It's been a rough week since she's been giving me the cold shoulder, and we haven't talked as much as we used to, which I thought was odd. She's been talking to this new friend and a new friend group since the end of December, but from what their conversations sounded like, they were more casual, and everyone in the group would just laugh. My long-term friend told me details since he offered to lend an ear to her, as he is also their friend. I introduced them early in the relationship when we first met. One morning, I checked because there are times when she keeps her computer on to see messages on Discord, or she even has her phone mirrored to the computer screen when she uses it. The only times I've done this are when she takes the car to get snacks or when she's preoccupied in the washroom. There's nowhere else she could stay besides the home I'm providing since she currently has no support system here. Commenter 3. Does she have her own money? You are the sole provider, but what money does she have of her own? Ops response. She does not have an income or a job. She has her own checking account. She would use it if she needed me to pay for her credit cards, which I have stopped covering at this point. Commenter 4. Are her family members aware that she's constantly talking to another man, having phone sex with him, and still refusing to stop? I wouldn't expect any partner to be okay with or tolerate that. Ops response. Her father and grandmother know. My mother and her boyfriend know as well, but they also don't understand why she is acting like this. They suggested that it's something medical or mental that's affecting her, and they did not know that she was still talking to this dude until yesterday when I met up with her dad. He also advised documenting everything because a similar situation happened to him before when he first got married to his first wife. Unfortunately, she has no support system where we are, so they also see why it's hard for her to leave with nowhere to go. But again, there also needs to be a point where I consider my own feelings and needs in this situation. Update 1 day later. I honestly didn't think this would get so many comments and views. I'm also surprised by how often this happens and how big the internet really is. Thank you for taking the time to read about what I've been feeling. No, I'm not saying I'm perfect, far from it, and there are faults I need to work on to be a better partner in the future. I understand that providing isn't the only important thing when raising a child and keeping a family together. There are many instances where I wish I had done more so she would feel special and pursue the way she wanted. There's only so much a person can do, and I see now that she was just looking for the attention I wasn't giving her. Unfortunately, she has the mindset that I'm not going to change or that I don't have it in me to meet her needs, and she no longer has any romantic feelings for me. At this point, like many people have mentioned, there's only so much I can do, but I need to focus on my child's safety and well-being. I have to stand up and show her that if this is what she wants, then so be it. Unfortunately, that means we weren't meant to be, but that doesn't erase all the good memories we had together over the years. My main priority is our child and my own well-being. If I can't keep my head up and have respect for myself, then how can I be there for my child? I've also gone gray rock and only ask for updates regarding the child whenever I'm at work. I talked to my employer about reducing my hours so I can work 8 to 9 hours a day, depending on whether I stay longer for customers, sales. I've gotten in contact with a few lawyers and will be calling them with questions about what to expect and to get more guidance. I'll keep you guys posted if you're still interested. Thank you for your comments and also for the sincere apologies. I'm grateful for the support during this tough time. PSA, for everyone's thoughts, yes, I have screenshots of messages and call logs, including timestamps and call durations. I always have access to the call logs since I'm the main account holder for our phone plan. There's still calling and video chatting, so I'm just keeping track to have more references. The messages are obviously explicit and concerning. I haven't read all of them, but ever since I first checked her phone, she changed the passcode. So now I'm relying on messages from Discord on her computer. Whenever I get a chance, I'll snoop until I feel like I have enough evidence. And yes, her family knows the whole situation and does not understand why this is happening or why she is so willing to go after this guy. Now she's trying to justify her cheating by accusing me of cheating, claiming she gave me a mark that she doesn't remember giving me? Is it odd for me to be doing dishes at 5 a.m. when I wake up early to take care of our child if they wake up early? This just shows another example of her refusing to take accountability for her actions and shifting the blame. At this point, I'm 100% open to taking a polygraph just to prove her wrong and make her realize what she's doing or thinking. Relevant comments. Commenter. So instead of coming to you when she developed an issue, she sought attention outside the marriage. Now she's in lust with a guy she doesn't know. Sure, she talks to him all the time, but she doesn't know him beyond a game and online sexting. People have complicated personalities. She won't truly know his until she actually spends personal time with him. And she probably won't do that until she moves in with him. Do you have a real name for him? His general location? A Facebook page? For the sake of your baby, you should probably let your lawyer know that you're concerned about the baby's safety. This guy could be anyone, a sex offender, a felon, an abuser, anything. Most moral men aren't on games all day, comfortable with contributing to the breakup of a marriage. Maybe she's lied to him. Or maybe he's a 30-something, jobless, lazy man living with his mom. Maybe he has a sex addiction, and once he wins her over, he'll move on to the next female gamer he can trap. I wish your baby good luck and hope her guardian angels protect her if her parents don't. Ops response. I know his name and all his information through a friend, including his address and everything. I'm not crazy, but it's wild that you can find stuff like that. He was fully aware that she was married and had a child. The fact that he freaks out and feels bad about her situation but doesn't want to provide her with funds now that she's not getting them from me anymore just tells me he's not taking this seriously. If you're going to tell her that she's yours and that you'll be there for her, why aren't you actually doing anything besides just saying it? I just can't understand, but unfortunately, I feel like people do this so often. Second update 4 days later. A lot has happened since the last update, but I've started focusing on my well-being and mental state while ensuring my child receives the love and attention she deserves. I came back home from the gym, showered, and started spending time with my kid when my soon-to-be ex-wife decided to leave her computer unattended. I was already being dragged in her friend group, and I noticed a few messages coming through on her phone, which is linked to her computer. And it was just a lot of hateful messages saying that I'm trying too hard to win her back. She said I went to therapy and that I'm trying so hard it's cringe. She purposely mentioned that she's ignoring me because she doesn't want to be involved with me and kept laughing about what I'm doing, even though I'm not doing all this for her. I've accepted that I need to move on, be the best dad for our child, and learn to co-parent. For her to act civil toward me while, in reality, trash-talking me to all her friends and the guy she's still in contact with, referring to me as her ex, made me blow up. She asked me, what does everyone think is going to happen? That, right there, told me she was only going to therapy/counseling just to check it off. There was never anything to save in the first place. I told her that if she wants to leave so badly and be with this guy, then go ahead and leave. She chose to step out of this marriage and family. She has until the end of February to move out, and the baby is staying here. She asked if she could visit and see her kid, and I said, yes, you're her mother. Let me know when you want to see her. I'm not preventing you from seeing your kid. I want her to know that, at the end of the day, she's her mother, and I'm her father. She agreed and said she'd be out of my hair as soon as she could. Not to mention, this was all happening while she was on the phone with her new babe. So yeah, that's the update. I'm not trying to be a doormat, but enough is enough. I'm still in contact with lawyers, but it seems like she's willing to let it go to the point where I might not even need one. Still, I'll do my due diligence to protect myself and our child. Relevant comments. Commenter. Has she told you what you did to make her fall out of love with you, and now she's at the point of mocking you? Ops response. Not providing her with enough love or making her feel pursued in her needs, and again, I take full responsibility for not doing my best in that regard. I was more than willing to work on it and go to therapy to be a better husband to her. That's why I've been going to therapy to make this marriage work. But since update 1, her main focus has been just moving on, being with this new guy, and rubbing it in my face. Unfortunately, I've just had enough of the disrespect while I'm trying to keep this family together. Third update 3 days later. She's leaving next week and is still headfirst into being with this other dude. She had the audacity to ask me if she could get birth control through my insurance, and I declined because the main reason for it is so she can do whatever she wants with him. He's trying to get his own place so she can move in, and she's driving all the way there. Still a wild situation, but we are in agreement regarding our child. The divorce papers are written and filed, as is the custody agreement we agreed upon. Everyone in the family is just disappointed and frustrated with the situation. However, there's only so much we can do, and she's not willing to listen to anyone besides her new dude and her friend group. Either way, I hope she finds happiness with him, but if it goes south, she's not coming back. Fourth update 1 month later. To start off, I would like to say thank you all for the messages and the PMs. She's been gone for about 3 weeks now. It turns out she couldn't find a rental van before she was supposed to leave, so the guy drove all the way down to pick her up. I told her that he's not allowed in the area or apartment at all while I'm here with our daughter. So he stayed in his car until she finished packing everything, and an hour later, she just left with him. Close friends came by to make sure nothing happened and to serve as witnesses, just in case she tries to claim that she didn't leave or abandon us, when, in reality, she did. I'm waiting for documents to be notarized and sent back to me since she's not in the same state. I've gotten into a routine with everything, such as taking care of our child while working. Luckily, I have a lot of support from my family and even my in-laws. It helps a lot, but I know this is just the first step in getting over everything that has happened. Our child stays with me since there's no support where she will be living, and honestly, no one in their right mind would allow her to be around a stranger. She has messaged me about video chatting with our child, but that's honestly the only communication I have with her at this point. There have been lots of late nights where I just can't sleep, thinking about what could have been done differently. I feel anxious about the future and wonder if I'll ever want to love someone as much as I did before. It's sad to think that I wish she had chosen us in the end, but you can't beg someone to stay. I know that, over time, it will get better, and I'll be a better partner and the best dad I can be for my daughter and my future partner. How does one get through this? Now that I have the time and space to grieve and cope with everything, I just don't know what to expect. Relevant comments. Commenter. What to expect, it's going to take time. Every aspect of this situation, adjusting to a new routine, grieving, handling paperwork, dealing with extended family on both sides, etc., will take time, and it's going to be annoying as hell. Some days you'll feel great, and others will be harder. You just have to give yourself, your child, and your family a little more grace than usual. Your daughter will remember that you were there for her unconditionally. I firmly believe in you reap what you sow. Focus on both of you, one day at a time. And your ex will come crawling back when she realizes the grass isn't greener. Don't take her back. Story 5.
Am I the jerk for dressing too nicely for a wedding when I was just existing as myself? Hello, long-time lurker, first-time poster here. I, 25F, went to a friend's wedding a few months ago. The friends are Matt, 25M, and Susan, 25F. We're all part of a much larger friend group that gets along pretty well. To preface, I had actually never attended a wedding before in my life, and I don't tend to dress up or wear makeup. Nothing against it, it's just expensive and time-consuming, and I work 16-hour days in a uniform. I was really excited when I got the invite, saved up, and went to a shop I knew carried my size. I'm fairly tall. The clerk was amazing and so helpful. He chose a selection of dresses that would be wedding appropriate and not similar to what the bridal party would be wearing. We had a lot of fun trying things on, and he hyped me up. One of the options I just fell in love with. It was a beautiful dark green silk bias cut dress, think Keira Knightley in Atonement, without the sash and with a less flowing skirt. We matched it with heels, and I'd never felt prettier. The dress was on sale too, so that was A+. The wedding day comes, and it's lovely. I'm so happy for my friends. Susan ignores me, which is weird, but she's busy preparing, and then the wedding is in full swing, and the reception is busy, so I don't think much of it. Everything goes off without a hitch, and they drive off to their honeymoon. I suppose it's relevant that I received several compliments on my outfit during the event. I didn't think it caused a scene, and it wasn't anything particularly effusive or over the top. I was complimenting others as well, so I didn't think I stood out. Everything concludes, and we all have a nice time. No one says anything until tonight. We all got together for a welcome back dinner for Matt and Susan. During the dinner, Susan kept making snipes at me about what I wore, just incredibly passive-aggressive. It was very clear she thought I overdressed. I didn't say anything at the time because I felt terrible. None of my friends corrected or stopped her either. But looking back on it, I feel, for lack of a better word, wronged? She didn't give me the benefit of the doubt, and I don't feel like my dress was over the top. I do think I likely looked very different from how I normally dress and present myself, so that might be part of it. I'm trying not to go over the word limit, but am very open to questions and elaborations if needed. So, Reddit, am I the jerk for dressing too nicely for a wedding? Update 2 days later. So, crap has hit the fan. Turns out, the dress didn't matter at all, pretty much. Just brought up some old crap, I guess. Bear with me because I'm trying to piece things together while dealing/venting. Some info I've gotten directly, some secondhand, and not all at the same time. Some came from texting friends, others reached out, and I talked with Susan on the phone. Alright, so, apparently, this is relevant. I come from a fairly abusive situation. Not the worst, but still not great. Add on some religious trauma, and since a young age, I've been pretty relationship averse. I don't date casually or hook up with folks, and a staunch atheist. Believe what you want to believe. That's fine, but it's not for me, yeah? How does this apply? Well, Matt, you might be getting a creeping suspicion about the root of the issue by now, is very Christian. Not a prick about it, but he's been very clear that's the type of life he wants to live, and he wants to be a pastor. So, a full decade ago, he asked me to a school dance. We didn't know each other very well yet. I told him no because my parents didn't let me go to those. He then asked if we could date, and I gently turned him down because 1, again, my parents wouldn't have allowed it, and 2, I knew I didn't want to live a religious life. I knew he was very religious. This was a decade ago. We didn't become friends or anything then. That came later because my best friend started dating one of the guys in the group, and our 2 friend circles merged. He dated other people in between, so a little awkward but rarely ever thought about it. We were 15. Time passes, he starts dating Susan. Susan and her friends join the group. Everything is fine. We get along okay, not the closest, but good. There's some drama, but I'm not usually in it, and honestly, I'm really busy with uni and work. Then just work. But apparently, Matt told Susan that he had asked me out, no clue if he told her when it was, and this did bother her. I was oblivious. And yes, some of you were right. She is insecure, she also has anxiety. Matt, apparently, would get annoyed at her anxiousness when she'd call him crying. In the moment, he'd be supportive, but afterward, he'd compare her to me, saying things like, "Yeah, you should be like Op. She doesn't stress about things like that." Why would you say that? Like, sorry, but I'm gonna be real with you here. Getting followed by a creep on a train is very different when you're 6 feet tall and take martial arts versus when you're 5 feet 1 inch with anxiety. Not fun either way, scary all the time, but can you blame her for crying? Sorry, I'm a little pissed. So, I'm guessing she built up some sort of resentment toward me but never told me. Again, I was oblivious to all of this. COVID happens, he proposes. They wait a bit more for marriage. She invites people to the wedding and does not want me as part of the bridal party, which, again, we're not the closest, so I'm unfazed. Maybe a bit of sadness, but her bridal party is large and filled with girls closer to her, so I don't mind. My best friend is aware of some of the subtext going on here because of her boyfriend, the same guy mentioned earlier, so she doesn't get along well with Susan. They have a fight, unrelated, around this time, so Susan says she's not invited. My friend doesn't care, she's going to be abroad then anyway. She also kicked some girls from the bridal party because they were apparently talking crap about the relationship, but I know very little about this, all third hand. So, from what I can gather from my conversation with Susan, she thinks me asking about what the bridal party she were wearing was a dig, somehow. And that I chose green deliberately so I'd stand out from the bridal party and her dress had red accents here and there, since it was the opposite color. Again, she didn't ask me this, just came to that conclusion on her own. She's also utterly convinced that I dressed so nicely because I wanted to tempt Matt and that I should have dressed more modestly. So I asked why this was all coming up now and why she hadn't talked to me about it. I could have assured her that there was never anything between Matt and me and never would be. This is where she tells me that during their honeymoon, he told her that he's having doubts, feels like I was the one that got away, and needs to pray over their relationship. They haven't separated or anything, but things have been tense and bad. So when they had that dinner and she saw me again, she was pissed. She didn't say this directly, but I think it's pretty easy to infer. Now, this didn't come up in the call, but chronologically, this happened shortly after I left the dinner. Some of our friends texted her and then reached out to me, some talked to her directly. To the first person she spoke to directly, she started SLT shaming me pretty hard, but apparently in a way where she thought they'd agree with her. When they didn't, she got pissed and has been really short with everyone since. At this point, I tried to assure Susan that really, nothing is there. I honestly have no clue what Matt's on about, and she just loses it. Starts screaming and swearing at me through the phone, crying, and calling me really horrible things. I try to shut this down, but she cannot hear me, she's shouting too much. So I just hang up because, WTF am I supposed to do with that? I send her a text saying, "Hey, I'm sorry you're going through this, you don't deserve to be treated this way, but I don't deserve this treatment either. Whenever you are able to, I'd like to have a respectful face-to-face conversation." It shows as read, but no answer. I have not contacted Matt because, honestly, I'm a little freaked out and a lot pissed. I don't have a clue what to say and don't really want to be near him at the moment. I don't think this is over. I might update again when / if more happens because this was honestly really cathartic to write out. Relevant comments. Commenter. They should just annul the wedding and go their separate ways. Op's response. Unfortunately, they've missed the timeline by a small margin. So they'd have to separate for a year and then get divorced. I don't know if they would, given that they're quite religious, and while their denomination doesn't disallow divorce, it's understandably quite against it, especially if he wants to be a pastor. That said, I 100% agree. Commenter 2. Not the jerk. When she's ready, definitely have that face-to-face conversation and explain that you were 15 when he asked you out. You were never the one who got away because you never dated, and you were both teens. Also, please explain that you asked about the colors to ensure you wouldn't be matching the bridal party, which is a common question women ask about weddings. Reassure her that you were only friends at a later date, after the teenage years, due to the friend groups overlapping, not because you sought him out or he sought you out. If given the chance, explain everything you've shared here in your prior post. I definitely agree that you need to stay no contact with him, at least until they've figured everything out. You are definitely not the cause of their issues. It almost sounds to me, with the info given, like he was settling rather than finding that spark, especially given what he said to her on their honeymoon. Also, just who says that to their new spouse? If and when you have a face-to-face conversation with her, tell her that you've chosen to go no contact with him or, at the very least, low contact, but only if it's in a group setting and she's there. He sounds like he has some issues to work through, we all do at times, and that's okay. But what isn't okay is him comparing his new bride to other women. Again, this isn't your fault. You did nothing wrong. Please keep us updated. Ops response. Thanks for writing out this really thoughtful reply. Yeah, this is just a whole freaking mess. It's left me feeling really gross, sad, creeped out, and sad for Susan. I'm trying to figure out how long I should wait before reaching out to Susan again, let alone if I really, what the hell can I do about this? Explanations are good, but they don't fix the core issue at hand. Sorry, I hope this makes sense. This whole situation has just got me exhausted.
Story 6.
My boyfriend's business partner exposed his cheating in front of his family, so I dumped him and cut off all the help I was giving to his daughter. Now he's crying that I shouldn't punish his daughter for his mistakes. I, 29, usually stay with my boyfriend, Carl, 38M, on weekends. He lives with his daughter, 16F, when she's with him due to joint custody. He works a job that he hates because he has no opportunities for career growth, so 7 months ago, he started a company with an associate, Gabby, 35F. She's definitely successful and knowledgeable, so my concern was what would happen if she ever decided to cut him off. I'm mentioning this because his contribution to their partnership was bringing in clients, not anything technical. For the past 5 months, he stayed out late while working on their plans. I never had any reason for doubt or suspicion until he went to meet her on a Sunday afternoon. I didn't say anything because I know starting a business requires a lot of effort, but it's odd to allow an associate to interfere with family life. 2 weekends ago, she showed up and berated him for cheating on her. We were hanging out at his place with his 2 brothers, mother, his daughter, and sister-in-law when Gabby knocked on the door while Carl was in the shower. I started feeling weird when his family seemed hesitant to answer the door. His brother finally went to talk to her, but she walked past him and confronted me. She asked about our relationship. I'll admit I was a bit rude because I got defensive. His other brother went to get Carl, and it all turned into a crap show. At this point, I'm disgusted and don't know who was the real girlfriend and who was the side chick. Also, it's worth noting that she accused his family of betraying her. Carl remained vague when I demanded answers, and I felt like slapping him, but I controlled myself. She stormed out after an ugly exchange. I broke up with him that same day and haven't been able to find my way back to a good mental state. I can't believe anything he says, so whatever he explains will be a lie. This is where I might be the jerk. I decided to pull my support for his daughter. I had been paying for a makeup subscription box but canceled it. She was supposed to get her prom dress as a loan from a friend of mine who has 4 daughters. I told my friend what happened, and we agreed that his daughter doesn't deserve any of my help. I also kicked them both off my streaming services and will not help with her history school project, nor will I keep her on my magazine subscription plan. Carl reached out, trying to discuss what I'm doing regarding his daughter. He said she's just a teenager and shouldn't pay for his mistakes. I agree that she has no power to stop him from doing bad things or from being a liar. I also know she wouldn't have been in a position to tell or warn me that her dad was cheating. But she's almost 17, next month, very mature, and definitely capable of knowing right from wrong. She had no problem receiving help and favors from me and was comfortable asking for things. She's not a brat or the demanding type, she would subtly ask for things, and I was happy to help. I'm sure she also benefited from Gabby, as it makes sense given that I'm under the impression Gabby was no stranger to her either. I told him, let Gabby do it, and he tried to complain about how Gabby vandalized their website. She took their page down, and now all it shows is a black screen. He says she locked him out of all the logins and supposedly had all her contacts block him. The only thing giving me a little joy right now is imagining him naked and holding his balls out in the cold. Am I being a jerk here? My friends are divided over this, not because of him but because they say she's just a teenager. Relevant comments. Commenter. How long have you known his daughter? She knew her dad was cheating on you and didn't care enough to say anything. Also, you broke up with her dad. Do you have any desire to maintain contact with him, his daughter, or any part of his life? If not, then you did the right thing. You should inform her about needing to find a new dress so that she isn't entirely blindsided, only because that's a formative experience for teenagers, but you don't owe her any favors or further involvement. However, if you've been involved in raising her for years, you may want to reconsider your approach and wait until after the anger has subsided a bit before making any decisions about her. Just my 2 cents, and I don't think you're the jerk here. Ops response. I've known her since she was 15. I don't want to continue the relationship because I don't trust her, her dad, or anyone in their family. Commenter 2. She isn't your daughter, she's his daughter. He can do all those things for her. And she isn't 6, she's 16, almost an adult. I knew that cheating was wrong as a teenager. And it wasn't just that she didn't tell you, it was that she had a relationship with this woman. She was asking you for things while being involved with a woman her father was cheating on you with? She needs to learn that actions have consequences. Of course, he betrayed you the most, but so did she. I hope you block him, his daughter, and his whole family and move on. You don't need people like that in your life. Update 2 days later. Thanks to everyone who took the time to reply. I think the consensus was about his daughter. I will not be contacting her at all. I reached out to Gabby via social media, and she replied. I explained my position and that I didn't know about her, which is why I was very rude and reacted with hostility. We exchanged messages. She said that, initially, he told her we were in an open relationship that was about to end. They were talking for months before they began their relationship. She said he first introduced his kid, then his younger brother, and that she met his mom when Carl invited her for lunch and had his mom show up without telling her. Also, she said that his mom was less than friendly and even made a small scene by picking a fight with her boyfriend. He and she are currently broken up. There's no way she's making this up. His mom treated that guy like crap. About his daughter, Carl used to visit Gabby on some weekends and would leave his kid at Gabby's place because they bonded over DIY projects. Now I know where his daughter got her fairy, witchy, fantasy, and elf polymer clay jewelry and hair accessories from. So I guess his working weekend gigs was a lie. She said they became a couple about a month or two after starting their company because she wouldn't accept an open relationship. He told her that we were done when, in fact, we never broke up, had a crisis, nothing. Gabby mentioned that her dad absolutely hates him and that things began to get rough because of things he did, which her dad noticed. She said she, her dad, and other family members always meet for Saturday dinner or Sunday brunch at a particular restaurant, and her dad noticed how she always paid for Carl and his kid. And if Carl ever paid for his food, he didn't pay for hers. She said her dad called her out because he would usually pay for everyone, his treat, his family, and he was getting very uncomfortable about Carl. He even paid for Carl to avoid making a scene but was fed up. So her dad told Carl he expected to be treated for a change, as a hostile joke, when they arrived at the restaurant, and Carl was very offended. Later, he told her that her dad's remark was a put-down. She also said that her best friend raised concerns about him and that everything started to crumble when he didn't attend her family's Christmas lunch as he had promised. He remained low-key during the holidays and claimed to have influenza. He used both of us, but he took far more advantage of her because she made material things available. And while I don't know her except for this situation, her messages show that she's very affected but mostly angry. I wouldn't be surprised if she ended up destroying him. She repeatedly mentioned that he deserved to have his life ruined. I didn't know that Carl never got an MBA like he told me. He never worked the 2 jobs he claimed to have and even put on his resume. She found out because she paid for background checks and other tools when things stopped adding up. Supposedly, this was part of why she started testing his abilities and had been thinking about pulling the plug business-wise. She said it's all BS, and that he's very insecure about his social standing. She told me a lot, but in a nutshell, I'm going to get tested for STDs and have already told my family what happened. I'm leaving it at that because writing about it really irritates me. I feel stupid for believing him. Thanks again. Relevant comments. Commenter. How do you get background checks done? Did she say which services she used? That seems like something that should be done right when meeting someone nowadays. Ops response. She didn't say, but I'm assuming it may be a service used by HR companies. Also, she said that she corroborated his stated graduation year with a public PDF document from that graduation at that university, and his name wasn't there, nor on PDFs from 5 years back or 5 years forward. Commenter 2. This whole situation is a masterclass in why you should never ignore red flags. The dad lied about everything, his relationship, his job, his education, and somehow still had the audacity to act offended when people didn't cater to him. The daughter is just a casualty in all this, but wow, imagine finding out your dad is not just a cheater but also a full-time con artist. I hope Op gets tested and then blocks everyone involved.